Hey there, I'm Jamie Smith, and I'm the founder of Pro Tools, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. I'm here to share with you a little bit of a message about how I accidentally started a Two Common Club award-winning software company. And as you can see behind me, I've got a few Two Common Club awards. I actually got two of these I earned with Russell Brunson in some of his funnels, and then one for my company, Pro Tools, as well. And so I don't say that as a brag. I say that to share with you that I do know a little bit about funnels and building businesses, and hopefully it's something I can do to help you. But honestly, the big thing I want to share is how I kind of accidentally did it and what I discovered along the way. So I wasn't always this lucky. I'm actually very much a dabbler. I spent over a decade going through shiny object syndrome. Have you ever struggled with this where you like bounce from thing to thing, and it's whatever the latest and greatest tactic is, you're going to try that, and you're just hoping and praying that that's going to be the thing that actually just takes off for you. I did that for a long time. Did that starting back in the early 2000s. Actually started watching a lot of our greats of the online marketing industry. And I always had enough little successes along the way to keep me sucked in. I like to say it's kind of like my golf game. Every once in a while I hit that good shot that's just enough to keep me coming back for the rest of the misery. So that was kind of my foray into getting going with online marketing. In fact, one of the first little successes I had, it was the first money I ever made selling something online, was actually as an affiliate. I was selling things through ClickBank, and one of the things I found was somebody had chicken coop plans, like plans to build your own chicken coop. And they were selling this product. I thought, I could probably find a group of people that's interested in chicken coops and just give them the link and see if they buy. So I started running some ads straight to the vendor and selling these chicken coops. That was my first little success. I think I made like $800 selling chicken coop plans for somebody else. And so early on, I spent a lot of time learning from the greats like Russell Brunson, back before he was Russell, when he was just the Russell that we know and love today as the founder of ClickFunnels. He was just Russell Brunson, this guy who had figured some things out and was always coming up with these creative offers and new ways to make money online. I followed Russell, Frank Kern, love Frank, John Reese, Mike Filsaime, Jeff Walker, all these kind of greats of online marketing starting in the early 2000s. I always felt like I was in the game because I was always learning from these people, but I was never actually really playing the game. I was just constantly learning made me feel like it was part of it. So I really stumbled around onto all these things. I really struggled a lot with the shiny object syndrome. But eventually I stumbled onto this strategy that I've figured out actually works every time. Now, when I stumbled upon it, I didn't know that, but I did kind of stumble upon this thing. It wasn't like that, the light bulb you get, like a sudden light bulb that goes off. This was kind of like a slow burn. Eventually, over time, I figured out like, oh, hey, this actually kind of works all the time. But now, once I've realized it, I see it everywhere. And it's in everything that I think anybody that's had success has started kind of this way. And so I wanted to share a little bit with you about that. In order to do that, I want to kind of walk you through how I got started, how I stumbled upon this. So I want you to realize like how powerful this can be. And sometimes that means, hey, we got to take a step back and see where it came from. So I want to step back to one of the first things I really kind of got into where I maybe had a little bit more success than what I had been familiar with. And this was back in the days when the Google Cache method, if you've been around long enough, you've heard of Google Cache. This was when Google was just starting to serve up ads. And you could actually, as a website owner, display Google ads on your pages and earn revenue from anybody that clicked on one of those ads. So that's kind of the start of this. And then Google Cache was like this way of running your own ads and actually, and then sending ads to an affiliate product or something like that and actually making money from that. So it became very popular when Google came out with AdSense to run these sites where you could put Google ads on it and you could earn a share of that ad revenue. And you could build sites around any topic, anything that somebody was searching on where they might land on your page and see an ad and click on a product because they're interested in that topic was a potential way to make money. So this was a very popular thing to do. It was one of the shiny objects that I ran into, and I decided to give it a spin. The thing is that in order to build these article sites, you needed to have articles, you needed to actually have content, and needed to have quite a bit of it actually, and it needed to be fairly decent. And I really didn't want to spend the time to go through and build out all the content that was necessary to build these article sites to just generate revenue. I'm like, the amount of content that I would need to have is a lot. And I work in a full-time job trying to figure out how to make it online, but working a full-time job at the same time, like, how can I do a side hustle where I don't have to spend every waking hour writing articles? And along comes PLR. I don't know if you've heard of PLR, but it's called private label rights content. So this is content that somebody else creates, and then you can buy that content, and they give you the rights to republish that content however you want. And there's different levels of this, but in general, it's like, hey, I wrote this pack of articles. You can buy the pack of articles from me, and then you can republish them as yours. You can modify them, tweak them, rewrite them, do whatever you want, but they're yours to go and do something with. So this was like, to me, like, oh, that's actually great. I can like buy the packs, and then I can repurpose them, and I can make these article sites out of those. So I thought this was a really good way to go. And I found this product, this program called Niche Revolution, kind of like GIF and GIF, like which one's right? I don't know, niche. We'll go with niche. So Niche Revolution, by two brothers, Brad and Matt Callan, great guys, and a little bit more about them later. But they created this program called Niche Revolution. And what the offer was basically, hey, every month we're going to give you two niches full of content, a bunch of articles, like 20 or 30 articles per niche, and an ebook and graphics and all the things that go along with it. And then it's PLR, so you can do what you want with it from there. And so I thought, God, that sounds like an amazing offer. So I jumped in. It was I think it was like $97 a month. And I'm like, well, if I can take, each month I get two of these things. If I can take those and just turn them into article sites and then turn that around, I can easily make more than the $97 a month, right? So thought, what the heck? I got nothing to lose here. Let me jump in. So I did. I jumped in, and one of the things that came along with the offer was actually a community. Now, this was back way before Facebook groups were a thing. So the community back then was actually an online forum. So they had a forum specifically for this product, for Niche Revolution. And so I jumped into this forum. And for those of you that may not remember, forums are the way we actually used to stay in touch with each other. Warrior Forum might have been one that you might be familiar with if you're, been around as long as I have. That was kind of the place where all of the bigs got their start. Russell and Frank and Mike and John Reese, all these guys were in Warrior Forum way back in the day. So I was familiar with Forum because I'd been studying it for, been in them for years at this point. So I thought, yeah, this is great. This is comfortable for me. Let me jump in and kind of see how this forum works. And there were a ton of people in there. And the great thing is everybody had great ideas and was sharing and collaborative. The good thing is, at this point, I had a good bit of tech background. Had been a web developer for about a decade at this point. So I had a good bit of knowledge as well. So I jumped in and I learned everything that I could about kind of the niches and how to build these article sites and what to do. And I started seeing a lot of technical questions that I knew the answers to. So I was able to go in and help as well. So I jumped in and I learned, and then I actually was able to share my own opinions and information and answer questions. And something that came up that I had heard so many times at that point that I just thought was brilliant, and that was from Frank Kern. Frank says, hey, if you want to show people you can help them, you need to actually help them. So show people you can help them by actually helping them. So I thought, you know what? I want to show people that I can help them. So I'm going to go in and actually help. So I just jumped into this community and I started going in and just answering questions as much as I could. I was in there every day, not all day, but I spent a good bit of time in there just going through. This was my community at the time. So this was my hustle. This was my side hustle that I was trying to make it with. So I was in there trying to learn. And I think the key was I was just giving value just to give value. I had no expectation of any sort of return. And I think that is the key to keep in mind here, is that you should give value with no expectation of return. So along the way, over the span of a couple months, I kind of became the go-to for questions around, hey, how do I use this? I kind of became one of the community leaders around how do I use these articles? How do I set up? At the time, we were using WordPress to set up these article sites. How do I use WordPress? How do I do this? What plugins should I use? How do I connect the dots? How do I connect my domain to my WordPress installation? All kinds of technical things that I could answer. I kind of became the go-to, right? So from there, I thought, you know what? I'm enjoying this and I can help people set it up, but man, it gets really expensive. Like each one of these niches is like everybody's going out and buying another domain. So you could be, how to wash your car. So you'd buy howtowashyourcar.com. It could be, how to groom your dog. So it'd be howtogroomyourdog.com. You're doing all these niches like dog training. So I got to go buy dogtraining.com. And you're buying domains all the time and you're setting up new instances of WordPress and you're setting up new email addresses. You're doing all this stuff and it just became really cumbersome to do. But along the way, I figured out like, hey, I can actually use WordPress in a special way that allows me to create a network of sites on subdomains. So I can create all these different article niches that all live on the same domain. Let's say it's myarticlehq.com. But I can have, each niche can have its own subdomain. So it could be like dogtraining.myarticlehq.com or carwash.myarticlehq.com or doggrooming.myarticlehq.com. And so I'm like, this is actually going to be much easier, much faster, because I can do this with a single installation of WordPress and a single domain name, and I can just quickly set up this network of these article sites. So I started using this for myself, and I spent a good bit of time. I walked through how to kind of set this up. I figured out the system, and then along the way, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to kind of share a little bit about this with the community. And over time, I had enough questions about it. I thought, you know what? Let me just kind of create a course that walks through. Let me record the process of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and really try to invest into like training people on it the best way that I can. So let me just create a video course that walks through this entire process. And I did that. And the beautiful thing is I like, as I created this, I got to the end, I'm like, I wonder, could I sell this thing? Like, could I sell this course? Like I really was just creating it just to share. But then along the way, I'm like, hey, maybe I could sell this thing. So I decided to give it a shot. So I actually created the course, and then I went into ClickBank and created a product in ClickBank because I knew I could sell it through their platform and then collect the money. So that was just a quick and easy way for me to get that up and running. I signed up with ClickBank. I loaded it up as a product there, and then I started sharing and kind of spreading that, hey, I've got this thing available. In fact, I think at the time, with forums, you can put your footer on the forum, right? That shows up under each of your replies or comments or posts or whatever you make that has a little bit of information about you and maybe a link. So at the time, I was able to put a link to like, hey, I've got this free course I've got this course that's going to show you how to, build this network without having to buy new domains all the time, with a link to go buy it. And it was actually my first minor success. I actually sold about 30 copies of that course at $77. I mean, a couple $1,000 doing that. And I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. And then WordPress decided to completely change their user interface, and I felt like completely ruined all the video training that I had done and really put a kink in things. And so that kind of ended my foray into training people on how to use WordPress. And if you know WordPress at all, this is a fairly common thing. They've done this multiple times now across the years where they just completely rewrite the interface. And it was really a pain, but it kind of proved to me like, okay, I can do this. I can actually build something. I can create some of my own value, and I can give that back to a community, and I can actually start to get some value back from that myself. And so that was kind of my first success in doing anything online. And it started with, hey, just kind of, get into the community, jump in and learn, and start sharing some value. Fast forward a few years down the road, where I'm still kind of dabbling, I'm still shiny object syndrome, I'm still bouncing from thing to thing, but at this time I'm getting a little bit older. I turned 39, and it's actually my birthday, my 39th birthday. And you know what? At that time, I had come into a problem. I was fat. I was overweight, and I was not feeling good. I wasn't happy. And I rolled over to my wife on my 39th birthday before we got out of bed that morning. I rolled over to her and I said, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I am gonna get in the best shape of my life by the time I'm 40. Whatever it takes, I'm gonna get it done. And then I got up and had some pancakes. Maybe not. I don't remember for sure. But I did mean it when I said it, and I committed to it. And I started that process of learning. Again, I thought, you know what, I've got to figure this out. I don't know much about nutrition at this point, or exercise, or what I should do. So I love to learn, and I'm learning all about online marketing. Why can't I go and learn about how to get in better shape? So I jumped in and I started learning. I went through a ton of YouTube videos and just watching a ton of things, reading a bunch of articles, following people that were having the success that I wanted to have. At the time, they were big, bodybuilders and really more fitness model types. That's what I was aspiring to. I didn't want to be a great, big, huge bodybuilder. I just wanted to be really lean and in shape and just look like I was healthy and fit. So I'd follow guys like Steve Cook, Brandon Carter, Thomas DeLauer. You may or may not know some of these people, but these were kind of the big known names at the time. This would have been 2013, 14, 15. And so I started watching a bunch of these YouTube videos. I started listening to what they were saying. I started consuming this information. I started to really put everything together, correlate everything, and come up with my own opinions about what I should do. And so I started to put together my plan of how I was going to eat better, how much nutrition actually had an impact on my health. And at the time I thought, I can eat whatever I want. I just got to work out harder. And I figured out that's not the case for me. It didn't matter how hard I worked out. If I was eating like crap, I was not going to make any progress. So I kind of figured out and dialed in a nutrition plan and a strength training plan. And I really started seeing some success with that. And along the way, I came across another online marketer who was also in the fitness space, and his name is John Rowley. And John had created a product called the E-Factor, called E-Factor, I think was the name of it. So it was basically a nutrition book that he had written. And I bought the book. I wanted to read through it. I'd known John because I'd been following the online marketing space for a long time, and he was popular there. So I read through it, and I enjoyed the book, and I got some good information out of it. But one of the things that came along with this was access to a Facebook group. So this was a new community. It's like, hey, jump into the Facebook group. And so I did. I jumped into the Facebook group. I think he had one at the time called Coffee with John. That seems to be a popular thing. There's Coffee with Dan, if you know copywriting. There's Dan Meredith. And so Dan has Coffee with Dan. John had Coffee with John. And it was one of his Facebook groups. And then we had this E-Factor community that came when you bought the book, you got access to this community. It just came with it. So I thought, you know what? Let me jump in and see what this is all about. So I jumped into the group and I started, again, I'd gone through the content. I gathered all this information about nutrition, strength training, everything that was helping me. So I jumped into this community and I, lo and behold, could answer some of the questions. And so I started answering questions. And again, I got in, I thought, you know what? What does Frank always say? Like, if you want to show people you can help them, actually help them. So show them you can help them by actually helping them. So that's what I did. That's what I started doing. I started actually jumping in and answering people's questions and helping as much as I could. And again, I spent a good bit of time in this community, and I tried to, kind of constantly be giving value and fostering that value. And again, I became the go-to for questions. So it started to become that instead of people tagging John or one of his staff members in the group, they would tag me and want to get my opinion about their question. And that was really cool. It was great for me. It made me feel good. But it was also something that kind of, was able to raise me up in the standings within that community. And it actually gave me a chance to give massive value back to the community, but also to the founder. So I was interested in hey, if I want to do something online, John's been really successful online. I'd love to kind of form a relationship with this guy. So I was able to support him in his community by helping deliver value. And it was always geared towards hey, this is what John teaches. This is kind of how to interpret that, and here's what you can go do with it. And so it was actually fostering people's, value or their perception of John. It was value because it was coming from him that I was just supporting with. And so that was great for him. It was great for the community. It was great for me. And I always tried to give with, again, that no expectation of return. I'm just here to answer questions. If I can help, that's great. It makes me feel good. There's a ripple effect I think everybody should consider. Whenever you help somebody, there's a ripple effect. That goes out. That good deed that you've done goes out and turns into other good deeds and ripples out through the world. So it's to me, it was totally worth doing just for that reason. But along the way, I had actually, I did achieve what I set out to do. By the time I turned 40, I had dropped 50 pounds of fat and got in the best shape of my life. And I was really proud of that. And I thought, you know what? Hey, this actually, once I kind of figured things out and figured out that there is a system here, it wasn't really that difficult as long as I followed the system. And for me, it was about the math. There's actually a mathematical formula for how to lose fat. And so I kind of, and I didn't develop it, I didn't create it. There's a, if you're interested, there's a formula called the Catch-McCardle formula. These were two scientific researchers that created this formula for how many calories that you need to, how many calories your body burns every day. So that you know, hey, if I burn 2,000 calories a day and I only consume 1,800 calories a day, then I'm in a deficit. And as long as I'm in a deficit, I'm going to lose fat. As long as I get enough protein and work out and kind of keep my muscle, then the fat's going to be the only way that I can lose. So that was kind of what I learned along the way. And I thought, you know what, I think I can write an ebook about this and kind of share and simplify this for a lot of people. So maybe they don't have to spend as much time as I did trying to learn what to do. So I wrote my own fat loss ebook. And it was called I'm trying to think of the actual name of it now. It was called the Fat Loss Magic Formula, the mathematical way to lose weight. And so I wrote this ebook, and actually, because I had fostered this relationship in the community and fostered this relationship with John, I actually was able to reach out to him and say, hey, I've kind of been, I'm writing this ebook, man, I'd love to get your eyes on it. And he was willing to do that and was open up to that. And it's like, hey, we can even look at promoting it someday in the future. So let me know when it's ready and I'll take a look and see what we can do. And so that was, opened this door for me, and that was huge. And along the way with writing the book, I thought, what else can I do to make this like even simpler for people? And one of the things I did is I created this spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet was my perfect macro calculator. So if you're not familiar, macros are macronutrients. So you've got 3 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And the math says, hey, if you figure out certain ratios of how much protein, how much fat, how much carbohydrates to eat each day, then those are what we call our macros. And so I wrote this calculator that, based on your body fat percentage and what your goals were, and what kind of lifestyle you led, how much of each that you should be consuming, how much protein, how much fat, how much carbohydrates per day, so that you could consistently lose fat. So I created this calculator, right? And that was one of my giveaways as part of this ebook. You get the ebook, and you get this free perfect macro calculator. So that was, and I just created a little spreadsheet to do that. It was just a downloadable spreadsheet. But along the way, I discovered ClickFunnels, because I'm like, hey, I got to sell this. And along comes ClickFunnels. And quickly I jumped in to ClickFunnels, and it started to feel the same. I'm like, oh, hey, guess what? I bought ClickFunnels so that I could sell my fitness ebook. I wanted to build my name in the fitness space. I jumped into ClickFunnels, and guess what they have? They have a community. They have a Facebook group. So I jumped in the Facebook group, and the Facebook group's super active and super collaborative, and people asking questions, answering questions, and just being super helpful. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to, again, jump into the community and try and provide value where I can. And I see everybody being collaborative, and I just want to get back to that. So again, I jumped in and I learned ClickFunnels. I learned how to use it. Again, I've been doing web development for, at this point, 15 years. So I really kind of knew building websites, and I knew what was going on there. So I figured out quickly how to use ClickFunnels. And I jumped in the community, and I learned what the questions were. I learned what people were asking, and I started to give back answer the questions that I could with, again, no expectation of return. Show them you can help them by actually helping them. So just go in and start to give value. And one of the things that kept coming up over and over is like, hey, I'd love to be able to figure out how we could do this with ClickFunnels, but ClickFunnels doesn't do that. One of the first examples was like, hey, I've got a button on my page, but I want to put a checkbox on that button that somebody has to check before they can click the button. That way, they've kind of agreed to that, they agreed to the terms or whatever before they can actually click the button. Is that possible? How could you do that with ClickFunnels? And I said, you know what? I know how to write code, and ClickFunnels gives me the power to customize my pages with my own custom code. So I bet I could write a quick little line of JavaScript that you could just dump on the page, and it would do that. So that's what I did. I started creating these little snippets of code, and I shared it out. I'm like, oh, hey, somebody asked a question. Can I solve that with code? Yes, I can. Okay, great. I've got some code for you. I'm going to send it to you. And I would send it to them via DM, and then somebody else would comment like, oh, hey, can I get that too? And I'd send that to them via DM, and then somebody else would come in, hey, like, can I get that code too? And I'd send that to via DM. And eventually I had so many people asking for all these different things. I created all these, dozens of little snippets, and so many people asking for them that I said, you know what, this has really become a kind of a burden to actually give all this stuff out. So let me simplify that so that I can give even more value. So I actually turned that, created, at that point I was using ClickFunnels. I'm like, what's the easiest way to do this? What's the way that I can get started here without doing anything crazy? So I just created a course, a members area inside of ClickFunnels where each lesson was one of my snippets. And on the lesson, there was a video that walked through, hey, with just a screen share. Hey, here's the code. Here's how to modify and tweak it to your specific needs. And here and below that, a little text box with, hey, here's the code. Copy the code, paste it into your ClickFunnels page, and it'll work. And this is how to use it. So I created this kind of simple members area with just the code snippets and the videos in it. And I started sharing that. And this would have been early 2016, just when kind of ClickFunnels was really starting to ramp up a little bit. I just started using it late in 2015. So I was kind of new to the community, but this is my way of giving back. So fast forward a couple months, and a couple months in, I've got 700 members inside of this free members area because I've been in the community. I've been sharing the value. I've been telling people like, hey, here's the answer to your question with real answers. Not like the answers that you see in Facebook groups today, which is like, hey, how would I go about doing this? Oh yeah, you can totally do that. You should send me a DM. Or some vague response that doesn't really answer the question, but gives somebody the idea that you might know enough of what you're talking about that they actually reach out to you. If you can give specific, concrete answers and just show people, like, again, show them you can help them by actually helping them. Frank Kern, not me, I didn't make that up. Show them you can help them by actually helping them. Thank you, Frank. Then they start to follow you and start to follow along, and they're interested in what you're doing, what else you have, what else can they learn from you. And so that's why I was able to quickly build up this membership area. Like I was able to just share that with people. Hey, here you go. Here's the login. It's a free login. Go create your own account. And that got those 700 people over a few months onto an email list where I was able to keep in touch with them via email, follow up with them via email, and just kind of continue to deliver value. And then it was amazing. Like it was never intended this way. This was just my way of giving back value. This was just my way of delivering what I could with no expectation of return. But what I started to get back was the question over and over and over again. The same question. Hey, why aren't you charging for this? At this point, I had 20 of these, we'll call them add-ons. That's what we call them today in CF Pro Tools. I had 20 add-ons that I had created specifically for ClickFunnels to solve very specific problems, and the videos that go along with them to show people how to use it, how to implement it, how to get the value out of it. And everybody kept asking, hey, why aren't you charging for this? Is there a way that I can send you money? I had people ask me like, hey, give me your PayPal so I can send you money. Hey, give me your PayPal so I can send you money? Go buy a coffee or something. I want to give something back to you because you've given so much to me in the community. That's the thing I kept hearing over and over and over again. And I kept resisting. I said, you know what? No, this is my way of just giving value. This isn't my business. I'm off trying to build my own fitness business. This is just my way of giving back. This is not what I'm here for. And after, honestly, probably dozens of people asked me the same thing. Like, hey, we've got so much stuff here. You've got so many people already in your community. Why, in your members area, why not? Why are you not charging for this? That I said, you know what? Let me build something that I feel like is worth actually charging for. And at the time, again, really been listening to Russell a lot. And Russell says, hey, you should focus on building your business so that you've got basically half of your income is one-time payments, and then half of your income is recurring. So I'm like, how can I build a recurring revenue stream that supports kind of that model? Like, hey, I've got some good one-time payments, but I also got recurring payments coming in. But how can I build a recurring business with these add-ons? It's a members area. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to build something that I feel like is worth charging for, that if somebody uses it, they'll actually make more money with it than what they're paying for it in the first place. And the way I make this recurring is I'll just commit to doing that every month. I'll create something new and deliver that every month. So that was my first thought of what's the simplest way to solve this recurring problem? I just do something new every month. And every month that you're involved, every month that you're a member, you get the new thing as well. And so that's what I created. I started with ClickFunnels back in the day. ClickFunnels Classic didn't allow you to actually select quantities of things. So if you wanted to buy a t-shirt, you could just buy a t-shirt. But let's say I want to buy 5 of that t-shirt. Then there was no way to do that. So I created what I called cart mode, which was basically how to add a quantity selector to all your products in your ClickFunnels order form so that you could buy multiples of the same thing. That was my first add-on. I released that in August of 2016. And then I just kept doing that every month for the next several years. Honestly, we now have over 100 different add-ons in CF Pro Tools. And so it was just, for me, it was like, okay, what's the simplest way to get to providing more value for the people that are asking for it, and how do we generate revenue from that and continue to deliver value and make that some sort of recurring revenue. And so the simplest way was, again, stick with the members area, deliver the videos and the training and the scripts, and do it on a monthly basis, something new every month. And so that's what I did. And in the process of doing that, again, getting in the community, learning, jumping in and learning, and then sharing and answering and responding to questions and helping people as much as possible, I was able to build relationships with all the big names in ClickFunnels, the names that you've probably heard of. Liz Binney, Trey Llewellyn, Dean Graziosi, Steve Larson, Russell Brunson, you may have heard of that guy. I was actually able to build a relationship with Russell because he was seeing what I was doing in the community. Steve Larson was his funnel builder at the time, and Steve would reach out to me and I would help with Russell's funnels that Steve was working on at the time. And then Steve started sharing with Russell, like, hey, there's this guy, he's helping me out, he's doing this stuff. And Russell would start reaching out to me. Dylan Jones, who was one of the original founders of ClickFunnels as well, reached out to me, and I was able to form these relationships. And honestly, the relationships that have added so much value back to me. It's amazing. Again, I've got two Common Club awards working directly with Russell as a result of building these relationships, as a result of jumping into the community. So that's kind of what it did. I was able to foster, build this thing, and I built these relationships, and I continued to give every month something new, and it was working, and it was growing, and it was growing, and I just thought, you know what, we're just going to keep running it this way and just continue building it. And you need to do that. Just like you don't have to have the final result figured out before you go. You can start with what's the simplest thing. And so I ran that, and I built it, and I continued to build it. And then along the way, it started to become apparent after we've got now a few thousand people that are in using these tools, that when a little change would be made at ClickFunnels, it might break some of my code because we were relying on certain things. And so it became painful actually for the customer to make updates. Like if I had to change the code because, oh, hey, we found a new way to do this, or something changed and it broke, I would have to send out an email to the several thousand people and say, hey, if you're using this add-on, you've got to go get the new version. You've got to go to all your funnels. You've got to replace the code you have with the new code. If you did any changes, you got to remake those changes, and you got to do the whole thing over. And it was really a pain. And I remember in 2017, I was actually in Dallas at Funnel Hacking Live, and I got the note from one of my customers like, hey, the multiple OTOs add-on doesn't work anymore. It's broken. They made a change at ClickFunnels. Something's broken with it. So I jumped in. I'm actually at Funnel Hacking Live on my laptop in the lobby, hammering on this code. I'm like, oh, what's changed? What's broken? How do we fix this? And fixing that problem. And I sent out an update. Okay, great. We've got it fixed. We've got it updated. And sent the email out, and I got a response back from one of my customers. And he said, dude, I've got this on 80 different funnels. This is a major pain for me to go and update all these funnels. What else can I do? And I had to say, you got to do it. Like the only way to fix it is to replace the code. And that's when it kind of became apparent to me, like, okay, now I have to figure out what else can I do? How can I do this differently to make it better, deliver more value to the customer? And that's when I decided, okay, I've got to take this just simple copy and paste members area that's become unwieldy now because I have thousands of customers and it's hard for them to make updates. I've got to convert this into software. And so I can actually say, oh, there's just one copy of the code and everybody gets to consume that. And I can go in and change that and everybody gets to change. And all the configuration, because each one of the add-ons might have special configuration. So each one of the configurations are stored in a database so that you can go in and modify them. And then I'll generate the code based on your configuration and send that code off to your funnel. So we got to convert that into software. And so that's what we did, is at that point, we were having success and we were making revenue. And I was able to take that revenue and use it to actually build that into software to make it better for the customers. And since then, we've gone on to serve over 15,000 customers in that new software. Some of the biggest names in ClickFunnels, again, Liz Binney, Russell Brunson, Trey Llewellyn, all these people use CF Pro Tools software. But it all started with just getting the community and providing free and building a simple members area that just provided copy and paste code and some video training on how to use it. That was how we started. And again, we've served now some of the biggest names in ClickFunnels, and we've got so many people that have reached out and said, hey, I won a 2 Comma Club award because I use CF Pro Tools, because we were able to do PayPal and credit card on the same order form. Because of CF Pro Tools, I was able to win a 2 Comma Club award. And it actually led to me earning my own 2 Comma Club award for CF Pro Tools. And it was completely accidental. Like, I never intended to build a business out of providing these little custom code snippets. That's the accidental piece of this. I accidentally built a business because I built a thing that was valuable, and enough people demanded that I build something where I can charge them, that I build an actual software company out of it. So this is the epiphany that I want to share with you. So the epiphany is this: is what is it that always works? So this is the light bulb that took years to actually grow and to turn on and to flip on. And so that's this is the epiphany is you have to lead with value. If you repeat this framework, repeat this process, but it always starts with value. So how do you do that? One, you find your expertise. What is the thing that you have the answers for? What is the thing that you can do that maybe other people might need help with? So find your expertise, and then go find the community that needs that expertise. And then show them you can help them by actually helping them, and give with no expectation of return. And in doing so, you're going to build relationships with all the movers in that community, including sometimes the founders of those communities that obviously have a ton of value that they can provide back to you as well. And then from that, you can create your own special value. And then you just start spreading that value around. And then you continue with the value, and it's going to grow. Like, that value that you give is going to come back to you tenfold if you give with no expectation return. So, and again, this could be creating a course, could be creating some free tools using no-code stuff like Google Sheets, or it could be building a software company. That's your special value. So build that special value, and then in that community, start fostering people, letting people know that, hey, this thing's out there. That could be through, they've asked you a question, you start up a conversation, you let them know, hey, I built this thing, you might be interested. If the community allows you to share things, share links and things like that, you could just share and be like, hey, here's kind of a way you could do this thing. And by the way, I've got other tools, and here they are. So continue to build value and continue to spread it, and it will grow for you. So what the heck does this have to do with software and starting your own software company? Well, again, I kind of accidentally started CF Pro Tools. I didn't intend to start CF Pro Tools as a business. It just kind of got forced upon me because I built this thing of value, and people kind of wanted more, and they wanted me to charge for it. So I did. So I accidentally started this business. It was just my way of giving value. And so but it ended up that, hey, what the customer really needed out of this over the time period, what they really needed was actual software to make this simpler for me. And so I just built the software to deliver the value easier and make it better for the customer. So here's what I also found. Here's the keys to accidentally creating a software company. Again, accidentally, you start by giving value. Again, just what's the simplest way to do that? We call that in software, we call that the MVP, or the minimum viable product. I like to call it the minimum valuable product. So what's the smallest piece of value that I can simply and easily give to give to somebody that they can actually see value from? So start with your MVP. This is always important in software. You don't want to spend a year building out a thing that you don't even know if somebody's going to use it or not. What's the smallest thing you can build? What's the thing you can deliver this week that somebody could start using and see value out of it? And does it prove that there is value there? So you can use tools like ClickFunnels, Airtable, Google Sheets, and then deliver just whatever it is, deliver that value, and then prove to the customer there's massive value in that thing, and then use that and continue to grow that until it needs to be easier for the customer, and continue to make it easier for the customer. Always focus on giving the value to your customer. And then when now you're starting to receive that value back in the form of revenue, then you use that revenue to reinvest into building it out as actual software. So you don't have to start with software. You can start with these no-code tools. You can start with a course or whatever and use that to actually generate revenue, and then reinvest that revenue to building out actual software that just makes it easier for the customer to do that thing. So the thing is, it doesn't just work for starting a software company. It works for accidentally building any business. You find your expertise, you find your community, you show them you can help them by actually helping them. You build your own value, and then you spread that value. Focus on the MVP. What's the simplest, easiest way to deliver value today? And then start to collect the revenue, and then reinvest that revenue into providing even better value to your customers. It doesn't have to be software. It could be anything, but continually reinvest in making things better for the customer, and that will come back to you tenfold. And so to get even more specific and more tactical on the software, which some of you might be interested in building your own software companies, here are some things to consider. There today, especially today, there are plenty of no-code options. We call them no-code because it means you don't have to be a programmer to actually build using these things. ClickFunnels is an example of a no-code funnel building software. You don't have to write the code for that. It does it for you. It's drag and drop and it will do the thing. So it's a no-code platform. You can add your own code to it, but you don't have to in order to make it work. So you look for ways that you can use no-code platforms to get started. And then eventually those could lead to your own software. So here's an example. You could start with a course hosted in ClickFunnels and teach like I did with the WordPress course. So I built that out. I created a course with all the videos in it that somebody could go through and watch. And I did that all on a no-code platform. At the time I was using WordPress, so I built it in WordPress. Another example is my perfect macro calculator. This you could do with Google Sheets or an Airtable spreadsheet or a database that does the calculations for the user so they don't have to know what the formulas are. They just put in a little bit of data and it spits out, here's what you need. So you could build that easily in tools, again, like Google Sheets or an Airtable spreadsheet to do that and just build in the calculations for them. You could build a survey or a quiz using there's many online survey builders, quiz builders, form builders that you could do, and just let them go through the questions. And then maybe at the end, like you tally up the responses and be like, okay, this is who you are. This is who you are. This is who you are. And you could do that. The other thing that is really easy to do nowadays with no-code solutions is actually piecing together other softwares to make a system that automates all the time-consuming tasks it takes to run a business. This is something like Zapier. Zapier this is what they do. They like make integrations to all the different software. So if you can figure out, hey, here's kind of a business model. Here's all the things that need to happen in that business. And man, if I could have one tool that says, hey, when this happens, do these 5 other things automatically, that's hugely valuable for your customers. And you can build a business just around that, just by saying, hey, I've got an assistant for setting up these automations. And then eventually over time, you could build your own software that does all those things and not have to use Zapier. And now you've got a software solution. So when you're ready to jump into actual software, when you're ready to actually start building out your own SaaS company, then you can still look into no-code software builder platforms. So there are a lot of these today, but a few primary examples are like Bubble, Bubble.io, or Flutterflow. These are platforms that are kind of like ClickFunnels, but to actually build web applications that have their own logic and all these things. And you can, again, drag and drop and connect to other APIs, connect to other softwares, do all kinds of things, but in a no-code environment. And then if you know a little bit of code or have at least some concepts of the logic that goes behind it, you can even make those even more powerful. So these can give you, the power to make your own value without the need to know the actual programming language. So that's what I would look for as you build this out. Again, start with the MVP, start with a no-code course or video training series or a spreadsheet or an Airtable or a Google Sheet, something that you can start delivering value today and then gradually build up until you've got your own full software program. So let's tie it all together. Let's bring it home. So again, the big things are you need to find your expertise and then find your community. And then in that community, lead with value. Give with no expectation of return. Show them you can help them by actually helping them. Use that to build relationships with people in the community, with founders of the community, with the movers and shakers in that community, and then build your own value. Like what do I have unique that I can give to people? And when you're doing that, you need to start with the MVP of that, and then start with the no-code solutions. So again, use ClickFunnels to build out a course, build out a members area that delivers some of that value. Build a Google Sheet, build an Airtable that actually does the calculations and delivers the value. Start with those no-code solutions that are easy to get up and running today. And then use that to prove the needs of the customers. Like, are people using this? Is this valuable? And they'll start giving you feedback. Like, I wish it did this or that, or I wish we had a better way. This would be more valuable to me if it did this. And then you can extend it from there. And then start spreading that value around. Like, start with the minimum, start sharing it with people, start getting people using it, start letting them see the value, and then they'll give you back value. And then they'll also give you back feedback. So now you've got something that's valuable that you could start charging for. Now take that revenue that you're earning and start reinvesting it into building even more value. And this could eventually be software. It could be something entirely else. But here's the key. If you do that, then you could end up accidentally winning your own 2 Comma Club award as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.